Pastor Stephen Smith. I'm with Christian Leadership Partners. We provide leadership solutions by providing coaching, teaching, and mentoring. If you take a look at our website, christianleadershippartners.org, you can see all the tools that we have available for your organization to become that much better. Maybe you need a tool that can help you to develop your junior leaders. We have that. Do you need a tool to develop your own skills and attributes? Well, we have that for you as well. Take a look at our website and see if there's something that can help you. What we want to do is we want to provide you with this free leadership training tool about the kings of Israel. If we take a look at the kings of Israel, then we can see three different things, and it really helps us to develop our own skills as leaders. We want to provide that to you for free. So make sure that you subscribe over here so you don't miss any one of these videos, and you're also more than welcome to share this on whatever social media place that you happen to find it. Or if you're on our website, make sure that you share the website with others as well. So we want to look at three different things that this will provide for us. The first thing is that we can take a look at both good leadership and bad leadership. And the reason why we want to do that is because if I can identify the good traits of good leaders, then I know that I can emulate those things. I can study those habits, I can study those processes and those procedures, and I can do the things that they did expecting to see the same results, which is normally the case. I can also take a look at some of the bad things that they've done, and when I do that, I can say, I don't want to do that, I want to set those things aside, and if I'm doing the same negative things that they're doing, again, I'm going to get the same negative results. Now, the second thing that we want to do is we also want to take a look at their leadership skills in the context of history. A historical account gives us the opportunity to take a look at their planning, their preparation, their execution phases, and how those things worked out for them. So I can see the results of their leadership. So if I can see the results of someone else's leadership, then I know that I can also take a look at what they did, and I can try and follow along and follow the same successful things that they did and avoid the same bad things that they may have done that caused them to fail. The other thing is that we want to take a look at servant leadership, and we'll do that in depth the last couple of days of this study where we look at the leadership of Jesus Christ. The Bible gives us an exceptional example of how Jesus Christ himself led, and we can start seeing how servant leaders can be a lot more successful in situations whereas other leadership skills or attributes don't work out quite as well. So we want to provide that tool for you as well. But let's take a look at King Uzziah. King Uzziah was one of the kings of Judah. He was a good king, he was a successful king, and he went a very long way, and in fact he only had one flaw, and we'll talk about that one flaw and how that was his undoing. But let's take a look at what the Bible says about King Uzziah. This is 2 Kings 15, 1 and 2. And it says, Uzziah, son of Amaziah, began to rule over Judah in the 27th year of the reign of King Jeroboam II of Israel. He was 16 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 52 years. His mother was Jecholiah from Jerusalem. So we can see that Uzziah was extraordinarily successful, especially as far as the terms of the distance that he went as far as leadership goes. Now look at this. He was selected to be a leader at the age of 16, right after his father had been killed. Now his father had been killed, so we know that he didn't have too much of a successful thing in that, and yet Uzziah continually sought the Lord in everything that he did. He had a perspective of doing the right thing at the right time. He's an ethical leader. And what we want to do as leaders as well is find that ethical standard and make sure that we adhere to it. Now, whether you're Christian or not, those things don't necessarily matter in relationship to your leadership skills. If you want to develop your leadership skills, especially your ethical standards, make sure that you take a look at those things and you pursue those things that you know are ethically correct. If you know that something is unethical, then you want to stay away from those things. 2 Kings 15, 3 and 4. It says, he did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, just as his father Amaziah had done. But he did not destroy the pagan shrines, and the people still offered sacrifices and built incense there. So we have to understand this, that even though he was successful, even though he reigned for 51 years, he never stood up to the people of Judah and said, hey, you need to stop worshiping these other gods. He didn't lead in that aspect. And a lot of times we won't lead our people because we're afraid of what they think. We want to go against popular thinking when we know that it's something that's bad. So we can do that as a leader. We can put aside the popular thinking and say what's best for the organization, what's best for my team, what's the best for those people underneath me to become better leaders and to succeed in the mission that they've been given. 2 Chronicles 26:5 tells us this. Uzziah sought God during the days of Zechariah, who taught him to fear God. And as long as the king sought guidance from the Lord, God gave him success. So we can see that Uzziah also took the successful practices of some of the other kings before him, and he sought out God in everything that he did. Every single question that he had, he presented that to God. Every single thing that he wanted to do, he presented that before God before doing it. All these things enabled him to develop a relationship that enabled him to be able to come up, spend some time with God, learn from him, and then go out and do what it was that he was told. Now we can do this same thing as leaders by simply developing a good relationship with our superiors. If I've got a good relationship with my superiors, it's not going to harm me to go up and ask them questions. I have to have enough confidence in my abilities as a leader to know that if I ask questions, they're not going to fire me. They're not going to try and get rid of me. They're going to want me to succeed, because if I succeed, then I know that, or they should know that the organization is going to succeed as well. 2 Chronicles 26:10 tells us a different picture about what Uzziah was like as a king. It says, he also constructed forts in the wilderness and dug many water cisterns because he kept great herds of livestock in the foothills of Judah and on the plains. He was also a man who loved the soil. He had many workers and cared for his farms and vineyards both on the hillside and the fertile valleys. We can also see that if we look further into 2 Chronicles 26, that he also fortified the city of Jerusalem. He took the walls and made them stronger. He designed specific parapets so that they could be more easily defended. He did a lot of things strategically, and he used his hands, he used his mind, he put all of the tools that he had available to him into his leadership opportunities. And we want to do the same thing. We want to take an assessment of what we have as leaders, especially our skills and our attributes. If I know that I am very good at organizing things, then I want to make sure that I use that to succeed in the different things that I'm told that I need to do, or that my organization needs to accomplish. If I'm good at leading others and getting others to do the things that they know that they need to do, then I want to make sure that I'm using that leadership skill to be able to get them to do that next great thing. So we know that we can be successful in everything that we do when we follow those processes. But we also want to make sure that once we become so strong, we become such good leaders, that it doesn't go to our head. I'm sure that we've all seen leaders that have been actually very, very good at what they've done, and yet they absolutely let it go to their head, and they couldn't fit through the door because their head was so big. So what we want to do then is we want to make sure that it does not go to our head. Uzziah had this problem, and this was his downfall. 2 Chronicles 26:16 tells us this, but when he had become powerful, he also became proud, which led to his downfall. He sinned against the Lord his God by entering the sanctuary of the Lord's temple and personally burning incense on the incense altar. In fact, he went in and the priest tried to stop him. And he said, don't do it or I'm going to kill you as well. So he thought that he was above and beyond everyone else, putting himself on the same level as God. So we want to make sure that we don't see ourselves as being on the same level as our superiors. We want to make sure that we don't get such proudness in everything that we do that it destroys everything that we did. So we want to make sure that we're successful in all those things as leaders as well. Let's take a look at Uzziah's successes and his failures. We can see that Uzziah was a successful strategic thinker. He thought about things before they went out and he did things. We can also see that he organized a successful army, he organized successful farms, he organized successful rebuilding of Jerusalem, and he also organized a phenomenal kingdom for a total of about 51 years. Some of his failures were that he did not completely remove the idolatry from the kingdoms. He was swayed by the thinking of the people underneath him. We can also see that he got too proud and he contracted leprosy. That was his ultimate downfall. He ended up dying from leprosy. And his son takes over, and we'll talk a lot about his son tomorrow. But these are the things that we can see. We can look at these successes, we can look at these failures, and we know that once we put these things into practice, then we know that we ourselves can become leaders that are that good as well. So let's take a look at some of the things that we can do as leaders. Let's ask ourselves two specific questions. The first question is how can we think more strategically? I'm not talking about what's that next step, what's that next thing that we're going to do. We want to make sure that we look at the distant object. We want to make sure that we set ourselves up for success by identifying the steps between here and there and identifying the tools necessary to succeed that much farther out. That's strategic leadership. So what we want to do is we want to ask ourselves, how can I think more along those lines? The second question that I want to ask you is how do you keep your pride in check? We saw that Uzziah fell because of his pride. So I encourage you to take a look at these different things that we're doing. I encourage you to use these tools and become that successful leader that you know that you can be.